कुछ एडिट क्यों नहीं हुआ है?
वो थोड़ा सा ये है ना, कितने लोग
काफी आ गया है
तो फोर्ट की यहाँ पे क्या पर आए नहीं।
वहाँ पे दिख कैसा रहा है, देख सकते हैं हम कि
देखो कैसा
हाँ
आउटपुट में क्या आ रहा है, नॉर्मल की जगह कुछ
नॉर्मल आउटपुट इज गुड
ठीक है।
हाँ तो क्लिक करनी है,
अभी हो रहा है?
नहीं अभी नहीं हो रहा,
हाँ
थोड़ा जूम करिए, थोड़ा सा ये बस
ये लाइव स्ट्रीम के सामने से जाएंगे।
अभी यहाँ पे जो एक्सेल पे लिखा है वो आया है इसमें,
कर देते हैं और जूम कर देते हैं।
उसको फोकस पे लगाएंगे और जूम अच्छा राइट का स्क्रीन पे जो चीज़ है वो दिखी नहीं रही।
इफ यू आर योर
क्योंकि बहुत डेटा वो हमारा जो एक्चुअल डिस्ट्रिक्ट है वो तो
scan this if you are here you will get all the drive folders and everything here.
अभी एक बार चेक करना वो फोकस में आ रहा है क्या स्क्रीन पे जो है, आ रहा है? ठीक है, अगर नहीं आया तो फिर बताना।
Good evening everyone joining us online and in person. We welcome you to the Spreadsheet Gambit organized by Codata, the Analytics Club of IPM at IIM Ranchi. We are very glad that the people joining us online and in person are attending this. Please scan this QR. You will get access to all the drive links, all the files that we will be using, and some more material that we will be using for your future reference.
Hello, my dear.
Use your IIM Ranchi. Alright, if you are not able to access it yet, please scan this QR now. It should work. Alright, everyone has filled the form. If you scan the QR, let's go back to QR. is yet to fill the form, please raise their hand. Okay. It's opening? Not yet? Try this here if it's still not working. Alright, everyone else has filled? Yes. Okay, then we are good to go. And okay, hello everyone. How many of you are here first time ever opening Excel? I hope not. How many of you know the basics of Excel? Okay. And how many of you have no clue about Excel? We will be going from very fundamentals. We will be starting from very basics. Just to begin with, I'll tell you the importance of Excel first. I don't think in industry, any job you do, I don't think the work happens without an Excel today. Microsoft Excel is one of the powerful tools which people use. The whole point of Excel is that you get visibility. You can see the data with your eyes, bare eyes. It's not in some backend, it's not somewhere virtually. You can see the data, and when you can visualize the data, then it's easier to operate on it. One good thing about Excel is you can use tools using mouse, but that's extremely against the spirit of Excel. So a good Excel user would never use a mouse, would not even touch his mouse to solve or use Excel. So we wish that at the end of this series, not just today's episode, but at the end of this series, at least you are able to perform your daily life activities from making normal VLOOKUPs to pivot tables and many other tools without using a mouse. I mean, in today's industry, people are able to do Excel. The Excel is very user friendly. But if you are able to do it more efficiently, then you have a competitive edge. Alright, so with that, I'll pass it on to Tanishq. He'll be taking some basic codes.
Hello guys. So as Chaitanya said, good Excel users do not touch the mouse. We are not so good as of yet, but we will get better. So let's learn some Excel shortcuts. Okay. I want all of you guys to download the file that has been sent to you by the form. Has everybody downloaded it? Open the sale data.excel file. Okay, enable editing so that you can work around the sheet. And then we'll start. Good to go? Anybody still opening their file? Okay. So, this is our sample data sheet with which we'll be working for some while today. Let's learn some basic navigations. We can travel around these cells using arrow keys. This is basic. But say there's a huge data set and you want to go from one end to the other. For that, you can use the arrow keys with control. That will get you from one end to the other. Okay? And say you want to select cells along the way as you go on. For that, you will use your arrow keys with shift. So as you keep going on, you select cells along the way. And if you combine these two steps, control, shift and arrow keys, you select cells from end to end all the way. We all know control C, control V, I hope. Copy, paste, cut. Okay. Control A selects all of the data that there is on the sheet. If you double tap control A, it will select the whole spreadsheet at once. Control S saves the spreadsheet. To edit within the sheet, within a cell, if you click the arrow key, you will travel across cells. But if you say you want to edit within a cell, you press F2. If you press F2 within a cell, then you can edit the data within the cell. This might be function F2 for some laptop users, or it will be F2. Okay? So basically F2 is your toggle to go within cell and along cells. Right? Okay. Go for an Excel spreadsheet with multiple sheets. We can navigate across pages using control page up and page down. Control page up, control page down. Okay. Does anybody know what is the shortcut for auto sum?
We said alt plus equal to.
Equal to. Say if you have a column of numbers and you want their sum at the end of it. You just go to the subsequent cell and you press alt and equal to, enter, voila. You can try this.
Can you zoom in?
Zoom, acha, that's not possible. So in the file we have a cheat sheet with all such shortcuts along the way. Right now I won't be telling you all the shortcuts because they won't be relevant now. As we go on along our lessons, we will learn them along the way. Okay, one more Excel shortcut which is very important. All of these are shortcuts which you can use for frequently used tasks. But what if I say you can use all of these options above using just your keyboard? Yeah. For that we press Alt. when you press Alt, you get all of these little buttons with letters. This will help you navigate to wherever you want to go. Let's say I want to make this cell bold, right? I will press Alt, and then I will press H for home, and then I will press 1. So basically you can do anything you want using just your keyboard without touching your mouse, using such shortcuts, right? Let's say I want to insert a bar chart, right? I will select all of this data. I'll press Alt, N, and then I'll press R. We have a chart. Okay, so these were some basic shortcuts. In the file, we also have a cheat sheet. So we have 5 pages worth of shortcuts. So there's tons you can learn. Let's get out of that for now. Okay. Now let's get on to some Excel. Open the sum if count if Excel sheet. Okay, so we have a data set. Here we have some employees, we have their position, their department, how much they earn, their date of birth, etc. etc. And above we have some questions, right? So, say you want to find out the number of people who have their birthday before 31st December 1960. From that data. How would you go on about it? One way would be to just manually count the number of items. So we can see this is before 1960, so this would be before, this would not be, so on and so forth. But Excel has formulas, right? Wherein you can do all these sorts of stuff using just a few lines of code, sort of. So let's try that, okay? Now we will be using a formula called COUNTIF, okay? COUNTIF, what COUNTIF basically does is, within a series of data, say this, it will count the number of cells which fulfill a basic condition, okay? So what is our condition here? We want to find out the number of people whose birthday is before 31st December 1960. So we'll start by getting to this cell here. Type equal to COUNTIF tab, right? So now it gives you a little hint right there that what you want to fill. It asks you for what is the range of data. So our range of data is basically all of these dates of births. So we'll come to this first date of birth and we'll use Ctrl Shift down. We have selected all of our date of births. Then you press comma. Now it asks you for criteria. Criteria is basically the condition which you have. Our condition is that it should be before 31st December 1960. So for that we open the quotation marks, double quotation marks. And in that we write greater than 31, 12, 1960. Is it not visible? Is it visible now? Wait, just a second.
Less than
Okay. Now let's do second problem. Equal to COUNTIF. So we got to find out how many of the people in the below table belong to the department SNTI. So we write COUNTIF. We go down here and we select all of this data, which is under department. Easy. And then what is the criteria? That it should be SNTI. So we just write SNTI within double quotation marks, close bracket, enter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The formula works. You guys can try question number 3 and question number 4 on your own. Question number 3 on your own. Anybody getting an answer other than 6? Oh, good. So this was for counting the number of cells which satisfy a certain condition. Now there can be multiple conditions. For example, this question, how many managers are there in the SNTI department? So we want to find out how many people are managers and work in the SNTI department. For problems like this, there is a formula called COUNTIFs with an S. The same, we write equal to COUNTIFs, open a bracket. Then it asks you the range for the first condition. Our first condition is they should be managers. So for that we select this, comma, manager, and they should be from SNTI. So this column, comma, SNTI, close quotation, close bracket. 2. Do question number 5 on your own using the same principle. Okay, that was COUNTIF. Now, count blank is a version of COUNTIF which just counts the empty cell in a column or a row. Pretty straightforward. Equal to count blank. And just give it the range. The condition is sort of self-explanatory. Alright. So counted the cells which fulfilled a certain condition. What SUMIF does is takes all of these cells which fulfill these conditions and adds the value within these cells. Now these, if you want to use SUMIF, the cells which we are using should have numerical values. For example, we have to find the sum of the basic of all employees from the HRM department. So the condition is they should be from HRM and we have to calculate their basic income. Equal to SUMIF. The range it asks for is for condition first. We give it the conditional range. We give it the condition they should be from HRM. And the sum range, that is the basic income. You should be getting 1,94,800. Okay, so you can try this on your own for question numbers 8 to 10. We will skip all those for now. We will move on to question number 11, which is SUMIFs. Basically multiple conditions and sum of all of those values. SUMIFs. Now here it asks you for the sum range first. We want to find out the basic of officers from the ITS department. We give it the basic employee salary range first. Our first criteria is that they should be managers. Within this, should be managers. And their department should be ITS. Does anybody have any doubt till now? All good? Okay. So yeah, I think we are done with SUMIF counted. If you want to practice, there are more problems which you can do on your own. For now, we'll move on to other stuff.
Alright, everyone, I hope we are done with SUMIFs, COUNTIFs. If you are still doing, let's have 30 more seconds and then we shall move to another topic. Alright, everyone please go to the first sheet which says referring exercises. Okay, now in Excel there are basically two types of referings. One is a relative referring and one is an absolute referring. I'll explain what it means in a crux. So a relative referring should move when I move my Excel cell. So if I am on A1, it should have, and it is, let's say, referring to B1. When I go to A2, it will move to B2. So that's relative referencing, that I am relatively moving down. And there is an absolute referencing which says that even if I go from A1 to B1, my reference would be B1 itself. Alright, I'll explain it using this example. Now, in this case, we are given names of few employees and their basic salaries. The D column says that there is a DNS allowance which is 10% of the basic. Now we have to find what is that allowance for each of the employee. So for each of the employee, what I would do, I would just write equal to DA, not DA, it should be the cell which I am taking the basic salary, and I am multiplying it with 10% since I want 10% of it. And when I press enter, I'll get this. So this is the basic salary for Rangnath. His DNS allowance is 10%, which is 3,850. Now, you can keep on doing this manually again and again, but that doesn't solve the problem. The whole point of Excel or any machine is that we don't have to do the manual labor. So, there is one famous way, or which is most common used. If you look here, there you would find a small square there. So if you just double tap it, it will automatically copy the cell . Just a second. Okay, yeah. If you check, there is a small square. If I simply double tap it, all the same formula is copied down for all of them. So this is a relative referencing. Why it is relative? That the DNS allowance is moving along with the movement in the person. Now we are asked the second question for absolute referencing. It says that basic of an individual is what percentage of the total. So if you look at the last cell on this data, we have the total basic of all of them. The simple formula, just as Tanishq said, to calculate it, you simply press Alt plus equal to, and you should get the sum. Alright, now they are asking us what is the percentage of basic, the basic of Rangnath is how much of the total. So in this case, a layman would click on the basic of Mr. Rangnath divided by the total, and either it will go directly into percentage because it is formatted as percentage. Just to mention, the shortcut to convert any number into a formula is Ctrl+Shift+5. So if you look at your 5 button, there is a percentage symbol. So it's easier to remember that way, Ctrl+Shift+5. So if I press Ctrl+Shift+5 now, it will convert it into a number. If I keep it in general, let's say the formatting is general, and now I press Ctrl+Shift+5, so it converts it into a percentage.
The shortcut works for all keys from 1 to 5, converting it into different formats.
So if you see Ctrl+Shift+4, there would be a dollar or a rupee sign. So Ctrl+Shift+4 would change it to currency. Alright, for now let's keep it percentage. Now I want to copy this for all. If I do that, if I put double tap, I would get an error. Why so? Because my total cell, the cell which highlights the total of all basics, is also moving down. So if I double tap or press and function F2, I can see it is B5 by B28. B28 is a blank cell. So any number divided by 0 would throw you an error. So what do you do in this case? You go back to your first cell where we are referencing B4 by B27, and you have to lock B27. Why do we have to lock? Because the total should not move. Now there are either two ways of doing it. You can put a dollar sign before B and before 27, or you simply press function F4. Alright, a function F4 would put two dollar signs, and it's an absolute referencing. That means the cell is locked there forever. If I press enter and then I just do control D is simply duplication. So it would duplicate the top cell across the column. So I am able to find the percentage of all. And if I take a total of this sum using alt equal to will give me auto sum. It should be 100%. Alright, there are two more methods of referencing. One is the row-wise referencing. Those are semi-absolute, but we'll talk about them in some another episode.
What did you say about the $sign?
Dollar sign. If you press Control Shift and 4, it would change the formatting of a cell to currency. If I press it, let's say I have this 100%. If I press Control Shift 4, so it makes it 1 rupee. If I press Control Shift 3, it would change it into a date. If I press Control Shift 2, it would change it into time, and Control Shift 1 into generic number. Alright, this is something you can try out on yourself and figure out. I just talked about a very powerful shortcut which is Control D, which duplicates down the line. Suppose now I have to duplicate horizontally across a row. So the shortcut for that is Control R. Alright, these three are the very, very important shortcuts. I mean, you should not remember shortcuts, you should practice them so much that you eventually have the muscle memory that when somebody asks you to total, you do not type equal to sum, you directly put alt equal to. So the major three would be so even if you remember these three shortcuts, using Excel would be a very easy task for you. Alright, here we are done with referencing. Now let me just give a brief about series. So a basic series would be the most beauty of the Excel, which I think is if I just type 1 and then 2. If I select these two and from the small square at the bottom, I drag it down till, let's say, here. So the Excel automatically recognizes the pattern. In this case, it says it is arithmetic progression or an increasing series from 1 to 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will automatically fill. Suppose I put 1 and 3. Now in this case, the Excel would say it is jumping by 2 and it would automatically, if I double tap it, the double tap is not an efficient way because you are using your mouse. The best way is to go down from here and Control Shift up and then do duplication would happen by Control D. So if I press Control D, it would just copy the same cell. But we do not want to copy, we want to have a series. So if I click on these two and press a double tap, now I am able to get a series which has 2 as its common difference. You can also have an geometric progression. Let's say I have 2 and 4 and then I press a double tap. Now it would see it's a multiplication of 2 each time, so it would keep on adding 2. Alright, so series is something very useful. It also works for dates. So if I have, let's say, 1 January 2024 here and I simply drag it down. In this case, even one cell is enough because a date would be a sequential anyway. So you can have the date this way. If I just write Sunday here and I press a double tap, it will get the weeks of day for you. For weeks of day, there are other functions as well, equal to day, equal to weekday. So you can, that's something you should explore on your own. One thing, here we are using our mouse to double tap. There is one another way. The shortcut is Alt HFIS. Alt. So what does H means home? Here the F would mean Fi means there is a small part here if you see. And then S means series. So if I put series, now I can put a series here. So I have 3 types of series. Wait, I'll just increase size. Okay. Is it visible? Yeah. You can put the series in row downwards. Row would be this way, column would be downwards. Then you can have linear growth like 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there would be growth which is multiplicative growth. You can have date, you can have autofill. You can also have date units, day, week, day, month, year, that wise. So here the step value is by how much should I increase, and stop value is at what should I end. So if I haven't have anything in this cell, so let me just write 1 here. Then I go Alt HFIS and I say keep on increasing 1. Step value is the increment of 1 up to 100, and I just press OK. So now I have a row series up to 100. Similarly, if I don't want it in a row, I want it in a column. Alt HFIS. I select column here, and let's say I want this till 10,000. Because if you want to 10,000, you can't keep on dragging it till 10,000. So that time this formula comes handy. In real life, you would probably make a series of 10 lakh. So that time you can't drag and drop. So this is a much more efficient way. Okay, so if I just go control down, I can get to the last value. There is one more interesting thing in this. This function is now made easier. I don't know which Excel version you are using. There is a new function called sequence. So if you just write SEQ equal to SEQ, you will be able to find a sequence function. Sequence function effectively does whatever Alt HFIS does. So if I put tab, the first syntax says row. So do I want it, how many rows do I want? So let's say I just want 1 row, and I want, let's say, 1000 columns. I can put the start value as well. So let's say I don't want it to start from 1, I want to start it from 500, and the increment should be of 2. The step value says how much should be the increment. So okay, I made a mistake. I should have put 1000 rows and 1 column. So now you can see from 500 it goes on increasing up to until it finishes 1000 values. So equal to sequence is a very powerful. Now this was just 1 row. Now I can even make a grid. Let's say I want to make a grid of 1000 by 100. So I just put 1000 rows, 100 columns. Let's start with 1, and I just want a step of 1. So now I have a whole grid which you can see from 1 to 100 for 1000 rows. So this function is very powerful. Even if you just want one single thing, let's say I just want 100 in all the cells. So I can say start value as 100 and step value would be 0. That means it would never increase. So when I say 0, I just have a 1000 by 100 grid of number 100. So this will be handy when we solve some good problem. We have a very interesting exercise on VLOOKUP today. In future episodes, we will have more challenging ones. Alright, with that, over to Tanishq. Should we move to VLOOKUP?
I'll finish somewhere.
Alright, I hope the referencing and sequence part is clear. The sequence would be a very interesting. We'll have some more what we can say task using sequence in future. If you don't have sequence, probably you need a updated Excel. So we'll suggest you get an updated Microsoft Excel. Alright, now let's move to some VLOOKUP. Okay, I'll first start it on a blank sheet just to get you familiarized with VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is probably the most used function in Excel. Anybody who uses Excel must know VLOOKUP. So suppose you have a job interview tomorrow and you say you know Excel, they would ask you the syntax of VLOOKUP for sure. So the syntax of VLOOKUP, as of I remember, is first you put lookup value, then you put the table array, column index number, and what kind of match do you want. And just check. Sale data. Okay, we will be using sale data for our VLOOKUP. Okay. Just before we begin with working on data, I just want to familiarize you with the syntax. Okay, so lookup value is basically, the whole point of lookup is we are looking for something. Now, suppose you have an inventory list. You want to find, or not, let's say inventory list, let's say you have a data of students. Now you want to find what is the marks secured by roll number 30 in an examination. So you have roll number wise data and their grades. So what I would do, the lookup value in this case, the lookup value should be unique to that individual. So the roll number is unique, or a roll number or your name is unique. So my lookup value in this case would be the value I am looking for. So in this case it would be roll number. Then I am asking for table array. So table array basically refers to that data sheet or that table where you have all the data. So you select entire data. Then column index number, I'll explain using the example. And then there is range lookup. Now range lookup is basically what kind of match do you want. So I'll just put anything here. Now there are two things, either true or false. A true here would mean an approximate match. Let's say I'm looking for value 3 and the value available in my data is 2.9. So do you want to accept 2.9 as 3? So an approximate match, if you put true, then it would be an approximate match which would say, yeah, I'm ready to take 2.9 as 3. And an exact match would say, no, I want 3 only. So an exact match, if they don't find, it will throw an error. If there is exact value, then only it will return. Most of the cases, for most of the generic queues, we use false. So for false, either you can write false. So just when I type F, I can see the false, and if I put tab, then I'm quickly able to get it. But I like one more better way, which is 0. 0 means false and 1 means true. So you can either use true and false, or you can use 1 or 0. Now let's have a look at this data. What do we have here? Okay, here I have series number, order date, region, manager, salesman, item, unit price, and sales amount. Now let's say I want to find what was the sales amount happened on the order date, some order date, let's say this order date. This is the order date I am looking for. What was the billing amount or the sale amount on this day? So I would use VLOOKUP to find this. I say VLOOKUP. The lookup value is this. The table array which I will be using is this. The column index number you should be able to measure it from here. So a column index number would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this way you measure. We want sales amount. So it is what number? You have to manually count. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you put 9 as your column index number, and here I want an exact match, so I put 0. Now when I press enter, I'm sure we'll get an error. Now why so? Before getting to the error, I'll talk about few limitations of VLOOKUP. One limitation is, if you have your data on right side, you can't move left. It's always from left to right. Okay, so if I have my roll number this side and my grades this side, I can't match it. So VLOOKUP will not provide that facility. Number 2, when we are selecting a table array, the first column should always be the one in which we are looking for the data. So here we are looking for the data in order date. But what is the table array which I selected? I selected it from A1. So it is considering serial number as the first column. While just to make sure we don't get an error, I have to move my table should start from order date. That's limitation number 2. Now, just because the order date is the first, the column index number for sales amount would change. It would reduce by 1. It is 8. And now you are able to find 250. So that was the, was it 250? Yeah, it was 250. In most of the data sheets, you won't be able to physically look at the data ever. Was it really 250 or was it 3000? You will never be able to. So you have to be pretty sure about your formula when you write a VLOOKUP formula.
Column index number would also start from order date and not serial number?
Yes, you have to check from where your table starts. So my table starts from order date. So order date would be in column number 1. So
Yeah.
this is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
But why is the serial number column like not considered? Is that some syntax thing or?
I don't.
We are ignoring the serial number column, right?
I said it will throw an error. Whichever table you are looking into, the column which has your lookup value should be your column number 1. Otherwise, VLOOKUP won't work.
Oh.
Okay. One more problem with this. Let's say now instead of date, I am looking for the manager. So I am looking what was the sale amount made by the manager on some date, let's say. Now, first of all, I will have to change my table array entirely for this. So it should start from manager, name of manager. I will have to put some name of manager. Let's say I am looking for Martha. And the table index number should also change. It will decrease by how much? 2. So it will change to 6. Okay, so now I am getting the sale amount by Martha. But limitation number 3 is that the VLOOKUP would always return you the first value, which is the first instance which is get for the match. So let's say the Martha made multiple sales. So he made first with the salesman Alexander, then he made one again with Alexander, then with Stephen. So we won't be able to get all the data. We will just be returned with the first instance that it finds. So that's limitation number 3. Alright, despite its limitation, VLOOKUP is a very, very powerful tool. One way you can change this, the most tedious part in the whole VLOOKUP formula is to find the column index number, because that you have to do manually. Now we will find a way such that we automate the column index number. So let's say here I was looking in the manager column. Now what I can do, if I want to change from manager, let's say now I have to find based on item, and the item is let's say cell phone. Now it is throwing me an error. So how can we make it dynamic? By dynamic, it means if we change the reference cell, our whole value should respond accordingly. So in this case, the whole problem is with the column index number, and also the data. For sure, the table array should begin with item. So we'll fix that manually. And for the second part, now column index number, you can use a function called as match. Just as its name suggests, it matches the value. So now here it is also sort of a lookup function. You are able to match. Now I have to match what? I have to search for item. What is the column index number for item? So I press on item, and then what is the lookup array I am looking for? This array, but it should begin with item. That's one thing we will have to figure out. So if I start my array from serial number, the value which I will be getting is different, and if I start it from middle, the answer which I will be getting is different. So in an ideal, if you have your data correctly in proper formatting, the unique code, let's say if you have a part, the part would have a part code, or if you have a roll number would be a unique something. So always make sure whenever you are about to use VLOOKUP, the unique element is in the first row of your data set. So that's something you should have as a good data cleaning practice, or data visualization or organization practice. So for this, exact question, I'll use from item onwards. Now, the syntax for match is you first press the lookup value, then the lookup array, and now type of match. Here in this case, we would have an exact match. And I close the figure, and then I just press. So what it is returning me is the items column index. I'll type the match function again here. Okay, so what effectively it is returning me is a number. So it's telling me what is the column number of item. But what we are supposed to find the sale amount. So if I change this to sale amount, so it is giving me sale amount is the fourth row in my table. So if I just people use F2, I have a bad habit of clicking double tap. Don't make that habit, please. So here I am able to find sale amount is the fourth column. So that's what my match function is returning, and then I am using it to find the column index number, and then eventually in the VLOOKUP. Alright, so that's a basic insight in VLOOKUP. Of course, if you need to practice much more, we'll probably share some data sheet if we can, which has some questions you can solve. We have a brother to VLOOKUP, which is HLOOKUP. It effectively does the same thing, but in a horizontal way. So in this case, my data is organized column wise. So if I make this data horizontal, okay, so now I have my data in a horizontal manner. Usually whenever working with real data, you wouldn't have it in a manner, or just because we tend to use VLOOKUP more, we will be organizing our data in a column wise. But suppose you come with a problem which has this way. So the syntax is same. If I write HLOOKUP, so V means vertical, H means horizontal. So lookup value, so let's say my lookup value in this case, I'm referencing to this cell so that I can, if I change the content of the cell, I am able to change what I am searching for. The table array is definitely this. It's a good practice to lock your table array, since if you move up and down, your table array will not move. You are always referencing to your table array, so it should be fixed. It's a good practice, but it will change according to context. I'm Control Shift down to select first, and then Control Shift right to select all of the data, function F4 to lock, and a comma. Now here, instead of column index number, you are asked row index number. So I have to count row number. So if I have to find sale amount from serial number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I want the exact match. So 0 for exact match, and that's it. The cell is empty. So if I say tell me the sales amount in order number 11. So this is in order number 11. If I change 11 to 40, it will tell me the sale amount for 40. So it's always good not to hard code the value 11 into the formula, but rather reference it to some cell and then keep on changing the cell as you want. Alright, we will talk more about how you should make your model more dynamic, how your Excel more dynamic subsequently. So as of now, I hope you are comfortable with VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP. I want everyone to check this. Please type equal to XLOOKUP. Are you getting a function XLOOKUP? Anyone who is not getting XLOOKUP? Okay, so I named 3 limitations of VLOOKUP. One, that my unique code has to be the first column and it can always travel from left to right. Similarly for HLOOKUP, it has to be from top down method. So that's limitation number 2. And the third is that you should have data, it only returns you the first instance. Now what XLOOKUP does, it makes our life little easier. Here you are able to pick your lookup value, your lookup array, that means which when you are looking for, and the return array. Now the return array is such a beautiful thing, it will return you the entire array. So let's say I am looking for serial number 40 and my lookup array. So in which array? Array means a single line. It should be a single row or a single column. So I am looking for 40 in this, right? And now I don't want only one data. I just don't want sales amount. I want everything, order date, region, manager, sales, everything. So what do? I select this whole part. And now when I put enter for given 40, I am able to get all the details. So if I provide key 40, I am retrieving all its detail, order date, region, manager, sales, item, everything. If I change from 40 to 23, I am able to get all the details. So the beauty of XLOOKUP is it lets you pick which array or which exact detail do you want. So suppose I don't want in this, I don't want the order date and region. I want to start with manager. So I just change my data from, in this case, the return array. I can change the return array from manager, and I am just getting return from manager. Alright. So XLOOKUP is an advanced version. It came later on, I think in 2016. Microsoft launched XLOOKUP to come up with the limitations of VLOOKUP. So if you want to be more versatile, I mean VLOOKUP is a very traditional formula. I would rather call it a sacred one. But XLOOKUP is a modern way of doing things. Alright, I think that's enough for VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. Index match. Yeah. Tanishq will be talking about one alternative to VLOOKUP.
So, as Chaitanya said, XLOOKUP came pretty recently. So before that, people used VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP to do the tasks, but it has its limitations, as Chaitanya said. So one alternative that existed before XLOOKUP was a combination of two formulas, which is popularly referred to as index match. It is a combination of index and match. We looked at match for a little with Chaitanya. We'll go through that again. So index. We have indexes in books, which gives you the relative position of some content in a book. Chapter number 12 is on page number 14, so on and so forth. In Excel, index does sort of the opposite thing. You give it the position, it will retrieve the data from that position. Right? So let's try that. Let's come to the original data sheet here and let's try index. We want the index. It asks you for the array first. So we'll give it the entire data sheet. We come to the first data sheet, Control Shift right, Control Shift down. We give it the whole data set, and then I ask it to give me the data in row number 5, which should be this, and column number say 3, center. So what this does is it retrieves data based on the address you give it. Right? Let's change this to 1, 1. The answer should be serial number. Right. So that is index. You give it an address, it retrieves data from that address. Match does sort of the opposite job, where you give it a data piece, it will give you the address of that data set. So match lookup value. Okay, so following the principles, we will reference it to a blank space right now. The lookup array is, let's see, item. We will look for units. We will look for units, and then it asks you for match type. less than, exact match, or greater than. It is sort of intuitive. Less than would look for a value less than what we give it, exact match, or greater than. For now we will look for exact match to understand what's going on. Of course it will give you an error for now, but if I write down say 95, 95 is the second item in our array. If we give it some other number, let's say 27, 5. It works for column as well as rows. We can do the same for row data as well. Match 27, but this time instead of looking for it in this column, look for it in this row. It is the 7th item in this row. So index gives you the data in an address and match retrieves the address for a data. But when we combine these, it becomes interesting. Say we want to find the sale amount made by Shelly, which is 25,000. So you want to find what is the sale amount of Shelly. Right now we can just look at it that it's visible that it is just 25,000. But when it becomes complicated, like we want to find out what is the, say, you know a name, say Aswitha. What is the sales made by Aswitha? So we won't be looking for that individual salesman. But what we can do is, we can use index match. How it works is, we start with index. We provide the data set. Now it asks you for the address. What is the row number that you are looking for? Now I do not know what the row number I am looking for is, but I do know that I am looking for sales made by Shelly, right? So basically what I want is, I want the data which is in the same row as, Shelly and in the same column as sales amount, right? We do not know what the row number and column number is for now. So what we do use is match. When it asks you for the row number, we just simply say it, match the row number using, okay, we will fill this up in a minute. I will just write this formula down for once and then I will move on to explain. Okay. So, is this formula visible to everybody? Okay. So we start with our index. I will give you a page number, just show me what data is in it. We give it the basic table. We give it the whole table of data, and then when it asks us for the row number, I do not know what row Shelly is in, right? It might be row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I won't be counting it. So I basically ask it, just match this item Shelly and find out what its page number is. We can do that using match. So I tell it to match K4, which is Shelly. Look for it within this column, and for column I want the item in the column sales amount. So I will ask it to match sales amount in this row. So what it does is, I'll write these down individually down as well if you want me to. Let's say I want to match Shelly in this column. So, okay. So it gives me the location of Shelly within this column, and with match I can find out the position of sale amount in this row, right? When I combine this with index, that look for the data set in which is in the same row as Shelly and in the same column as sales amount, it will retrieve this for me. That is index match. Now the fun thing with this is, let's some I have these two names, Shelly and David. I want to find out the units that they have sold, the item that they are selling, and their manager, right? Now, let's do this. We'll start off with index. This is our complete array. The row will be the row in which we will find Shelly. And column will be so Shelly has sold 94 units. Now I have referenced the cell above and cell to the right for this one, right? Now if I drag this down, it will give you an error because it will keep forwarding the formula to the rightwards items. So now we can use referencing like Chaitanya taught us. We log the table using function F4. Now we saw that locking the value, we can either lock it or keep it unlocked. But there is a thing in the middle where you can semi-lock it. That is, you can lock either its row or its column. And that way, it will keep moving along one axis while staying constant in another. So when we say we are looking for Shelly, when I shift this formula rightwards, if it is completely unlocked, for this it will reference it to here. But if I come here, it will reference it over here. I do not want it to come here. So I want to keep this K column locked. Right? But I also want it to, when I extend it downwards, I want it to move from Shelly to David. So right now in match K8, I will just lock this column while keeping the row unlocked. You can do this by putting a dollar sign only before K and keep 8 as it is. You can do this by just putting a dollar sign like this, or you can use function F4. At first it will just put two dollar signs, but if you press F4 again, it will give you a semi-lock. But we don't want the 8 to be locked, we want the K to be locked. So we press F4 again. Okay? Similarly, for when we are locking units, when I move rightwards, I want it to move along this. So when I come here, I want to look for the item. But when I move downwards, I do not want this to come down. So what will I do here? I will lock the row, but keep the columns unlocked so it can move freely. So again, I press function F4, column 7 is locked while L is free. Now if I extend this to the right, okay, let's check what went wrong. So it gives me all of my stuff, and if I just extend it downwards as well, okay? Now, since I've referenced all of the cells here, I can change Shelly to be, say, Louis. If I put in Louis, if I change units to, say, sale amount. Since you kept it relative. So this referencing part might seem confusing. We keep the table locked because the table stays as is for whatever formula we use. We've locked Louis, but we've only locked the column, not the row. Right? We look for Louis in this column, and this column stays the same regardless. So we've locked it entirely. For sale amount, we have kept the row locked while the column is free. And similarly, but if they look for it, the original data sheet, this column remains locked. This is index match. Now one more thing that you can do with index match is, you can give it multiple conditions. So till now we were looking for, we'll find there are multiple sales made by Louis. Here, here. So I want to give it an additional condition. I want to find out the units sold by Louis under Herman. So now we have two conditions. Okay? Louis and Herman. Okay? And we want to find out, let's say, units. Right? So we'll start with our basic index. We will give it the entire data set. We will lock it, just because why not? What is the row we are looking for this? Okay. So if it were just Louis, you would want the row in which we have Louis. But there are multiple such rows. So what we do, we want to find out the rows in which we have both Louis and Herman. Okay. Let's take a different example. Let's take Shelley. Okay, so Shelley and Herman. We want the row in which we have both Shelley and Herman, and we want to find out the number of units sold. 50, we want our output to be 50. Right? So, start with index. Match Shelley. Now we want to match both Shelley and Herman. So when it asks you what you want to look up, you reference it to Shelley, then we use the ampersand symbol, and then we give it this as well. Okay. Where do we want to look this up? We will look up Shelley in this column, right? But for Herman, we want this column, so we put an ampersand over here as well. We select this, 0. And for the column, it is pretty straightforward because we have just one, which is units. Units. Okay. I think we can use this multiple conditions in XLOOKUP as well. I will show that to you as well. Again, let's say we want to find out the number of televisions sold by Stephen. So we have two arguments here. Stephen, telephone. We will find out the units sold and the sale amount. Would anybody like to volunteer and do this? Okay. No worries. We will go by this again, slowly, this time. So what are our conditions? We are looking for the units sold by Stephen. Okay. We want to find out the number of units of telephone sold by Stephen. And we will also find out the sale amount of telephone sold by Stephen. Okay? We'll start with units equal to index. Okay, we'll do this in XLOOKUP. Maybe that would be more intuitive. XLOOKUP. What are we looking up? Okay. We are looking up Stephen and telephone. Okay. Where are we looking for them? Yeah, we want the output to be the units.
Yeah.
Okay. The inputs, the conditions are Stephen and telephone. Right? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So A13 and I13. What are the arrays we are looking for them?
User and item.
For Stephen, it is this and telephone. Over here. The return array will be units. But I do not want to give it to it just like that. If I'll select this, let's say this column here, I won't be able to extend it because I wanted to read what's above. I wanted to look above. I want to look for units and accordingly find out the column I'm looking for. So what can I do for that? Match function. Yes. So we will make it. Okay, so there might be some complications here. So we will just do it manually for now. You select this column here. There is no item called telephone. It is television. Yeah. Okay. 56. X lookup Stephen and television. Look for them in this row, this column, and in this column, and return to me the unit price. Enter. Okay.
Yes.
Any doubts? Okay.
Alright, everyone, we will wrap it up here. We had one more exercise. If you look at the file folder, the drive folder, there is one spreadsheet Gambit exercise. Due to shortage of time, we won't be able to solve it here. We recommend it to you to solve when you go back using VLOOKUP. If you can't, we will take it up in the next workshop for sure. So that's it from our side. Do you have any any questions? Alright. So with that, I would request you to fill this feedback form on. Yeah, just a second. Download. Anyone watching it online or offline, please. Just in case. I hope everybody I hope everybody has scanned. And with that, I'll end the display. The Alright, we request everyone to fill the feedback. Everyone who is joining us online, we come to the end of the workshop. Please do like, subscribe, share, and keep solving Excel. We look forward to your participation in second workshop. We will be announcing it soon. Thank you very much. Guys, one round of applause for Tanishq.